We came into this world with a bunch of challenges, but luckily enough, the Most High got us blessed, giving us a grace that we naturally possess. So why do we sit around acting like we don't? Got so many gifts that we naturally own. We get here for greater things, we can feel it in the
Yes, this is the way you live. You can choose to transcend it. You already know it's time for Humanity 3.0 on Voice It Radio, a fiercely educational online radio show that has been rated as high as the second most listened to internet show on the planet. Humanity 3.0 is sponsored by Prometheus Reborn Universal Foundation, whose mission is to spread the next step in evolution of humanity, applying the trivalent understanding noetics created by Dr. Kwaku L. Carlisle Woods, RN, MD, Met D1. This show features stand-up philosophy that includes comedy, culture, anthropology, science, history, psychodrama, and music, usually self-performed and produced by us and Global Entertainment. The hosts of this show are, as you already know, Dr. Kwaku L. Carlisle Woods, give him a hand, and myself, Dr. Hamida Rockman Woods, M.E.D., Ph.D., Met D2. I have the Ph, and he has the M. We both have D's. That makes us Doc². The title of today's show is More L&L Laws and...
Should it be lies and laws? I don't know. You decide which one comes first. First, Hip Hop Trio Plus. We are scheduled, at least in the last
festival retreat in
Park City, Utah.
Yes, that's right.
Dog. We're going to be there presenting them the trivalent understanding noetics, and we'll see if we can change some humanity there.
Yes.
COVID. 3 times as many children, juveniles, those under 21, are being admitted to hospitals now than they were this time last year. They're out and getting it. They're getting sick. Again, 85% of those people who get COVID are fine and have no symptoms, but that 15% is kind of increasing now as vaccinations and other things are playing a role in that happening. Okay, but we're into lies and laws, or laws and lies, depending on you. And we got a whole bunch of this from a YouTube platform called The Audit on YouTube. Now, a lot of these laws are unknown, and they're unknown for at least 2 different reasons. Number one, they're written in legalese. They're written in a form of English that is practiced by lawyers. It's written in a form of English that is hard to understand, that is difficult to follow, that doesn't make clear images of what it's describing. And unless you are versed in understanding legalese, it's going to be rather confusing. That's number one. Number two, Europeans have made a history of keeping their people and populations as ignorant as possible of the outer world outside of Europe. That has been their practice, and they continue to do it here in the Americas and in Australia, Alkebulanese, every place they've gone. They need to keep people ignorant in order to control them. So, the Supreme Court in the 2001 case of Atwater versus Largo Vista, that's 532 U.S. 318, Uh, if an officer has probable cause to believe that an individual has committed even a very minor criminal offense in his presence, keyword, in his presence, he may, without violating the Fourth Amendment, arrest the offender. Now, the Fourth Amendment is the amendment against illegal search and seizure. Believe it or not, it's one of the reasons that we fought the Revolutionary War, because England was grabbing United States sailors and inducting them into the British Navy. But what this stuff that I just read means, a policeman can arrest anyone and turn them into a criminal for anything they do. Public nuisance, disturbing the peace, vagrancy, any of the other Jim Crow laws that criminalize a generation of Alkebulanese. The Supreme Court judgment noted the arrest is merely gratuitous humiliation. Now, why would the highest court in this country authorize gratuitous humiliation of its citizens? Does that sound like something that the citizens of any country would want, need, or desire? To be gratuitously humiliated? Well, that's what the Supreme Court says that any law officer can do. This is for jaywalking, spitting, suspicious activity. And this is imposed by police who, at best, was exercising poor judgment. Now, this is what the Supreme Court says. The Supreme Court says, imposed by police who, at best, was exercising was exercising extremely poor judgment. And yet they give them the authority to do this. That's pink as hell. Goes along with their history. Okay. Frazier versus Cup, 394 U.S. 731 in 1969. Now, you got to remember, this is after all of the race riots at 67, 68, 69. Deceptive interrogation is the term the court used to authorize police to lie to suspects in an effort to get incriminating evidence from a suspect, so they can lie. The Supreme Court says police can deceive you. Police can lie. Wait a minute. You got a law and order system that's based on somebody authorized to lie? This one. Police are authorized to deceive you, to tell you BS that they know is straight up BS, to see if you're going to incriminate yourself. It seems to lead to the same place in just a few minutes. Okay, so they can lie. Law and order. Law is supposed to be the courts. Order is supposed to be police. Order can lie according to the law. But perjury attends any suspect who does the same in court, according to law. According to law, anything is okay if the police do it. If you try it, you go to jail. As long as it produces criminals, they really don't care. This is particularly interesting in combo with Atwater versus Lago Vista, since any arrest violates the Fourth Amendment if not supported by a valid warrant or probable cause. Any evidence obtained through that unlawful arrest, such as a confession, will be kept out of court. So on one hand, you're saying the police can lie as long as they get you to incriminate yourself. But on the other, they're saying, no, but if you violate the Fourth Amendment, it's going to be tossed out of court. Yeah, that's legalese. That's legalese at its finest. I'm going to talk out of one side of my mouth and tell you one thing, and out the other side of my mouth, I'm going to tell you something completely different. And it means something completely different. Now, unfortunately, both the courts and the police don't seem to be concerned with the citizens being taken care of in a courteous, sympathetic, enabling manner. No, they seem to want to treat everyone as a potential criminal. And anything to get you certified as a criminal is okay. Well, that ain't the way that I think a country ought to be run. No, I don't think that the legal system or the police should act like that. They need to act like what it says on the sides of most of their cars, to protect and serve. They're acting like they're a family member, like you're a part of their family. Maybe that's why we have such problems with police and people who don't look like them, people who are not pink. They can't act like their family. Well, forget what they do. This is what they should be acting like. They need to be acting like we're their brothers and sisters, and they are our keepers.
Yes.
Cleveland about 15, 16 years ago, who starts off this next song called Brother Keeper. We were his first opening act when he first came to Cleveland, and he talked about what we sing about in this song called Brother's Keeper.
That's the promise of America. The idea that we are responsible for ourselves, but that we also rise or fall as one nation. The fundamental belief that I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. That's the promise we need to keep. That's the change we need right now.
Yeah. Global entertainment. That's right. Oh sound, baby. Oh sound, baby. Yeah, we got Mick Beats on the 1-2s. What's up, Dougie? Bravo, I got you. Listen. Yeah, now I'ma need you to bite your tongue and just listen to the truth. I'm trying to penetrate your soul with these rhymes of blues. Picture the day, you're not hating me, I'm not hating you. Back when the old heads could talk to the youth, we gotta humble ourselves to find God in ourselves. So we can sell why the true artists stay on the shelf. Ask this question, think we got a little too comfortable. The sins that we commit, we never want to stop and question them. It's like we wear a blindfold on our eyes. That's an immunity to see wrong in these devilish times. We can't seem to get away from this guilt and shame. We fear knowledge, that's why we still act like slaves. I watch my brothers and sisters walk around with no pride. Now ball your fist up and throw your hand high in the sky. To free the people was part of the plan. That's why they trust me. Put this microphone in my hand. Your brother's keeper. Yes, I am. My sister's keeper. Yes, I am. That one you speak of. Yes, I am. That's why they trust me. Put this microphone in my hand. My sister's keeper. Yes, I am. My brother's keeper. Yes, I am. I bet you I can reach you. Yes, I can. I want to see this. I got this microphone. Hey, American sister, tell me how you doing. To my American brothers, keep on moving up in life. And yeah, I know it's stressing you out. You feel you work the block shift to keep food in your mouth. My single mothers trying to pay the rent for the house, and does your man love you? Having them thoughts of doubt, yo, don't stress it. Let the pain ease from your soul. When all you're never too old to accomplish your goals. To my shorties in the street who never had a home, had to learn at an early age to stand on their own. I pray for you and all the struggle that you go through. That's why I'm here on this track, reaching reaching out to you. Learn to see each other as brothers instead of different races. Stop labeling each other by the color of our faces. To free the people is part of the plan. I won't deceive you, that's why I got this mic in my hand. Your brother's keeper. Yes, I am. Am I my sister's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I that one you speak of? Yes, I am. That's why they trust me to put this microphone in my hand. Am I my sister's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. I bet you I can reach ya. Yes, I can. I won't deceive you, that's why I got this mic in my hand. Hey, yo, what's up, fam? Yeah, I'm talking to you. They say you all what you eat, but just a spiritual food. For the ear, just manifested. Don't know what I can't get. They call me undereducated, plus I read Revelation. So I'm 10 steps ahead of Satan. This round is food for thought, you can call it meditation. Illustrations of quad being a false seeker. Great preacher, on the mic is here to teach you. The streets call me pain reliever. Your brother's keeper, keeper. Hey, yeah. Now I'ma need y'all to do something for me. You ready? Yeah. Open your eyes and tune your ears so you know what you see and understand what you hear. Your brother's keeper, 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 keeper.
Yes, My Brother's Keeper by Humble G the Fiddler, along with the Afropeans. A wonderful song in order for you to listen to and kind of balance yourself with what you already know is happening in the place that you live in. The trivalent understanding introduces you to who you are, what you are, where you are, when you are, so you can understand why you exist. Today's show is focusing on where you are. You should know the history and the current events of where you are so you can understand when you are.
Absolutely. Now, I promised that I would get back to why all these laws and lies exist in the first place. Let me go all the way back to 1865, right after the end of the Civil War. Lincoln has just been assassinated, and Johnson, his vice president, has taken control of the office of presidency, but he is a fearful being, and he especially fears the political power of the rebels who have just waged war against this country. Fear has always been a great motivator for pink people, especially pink males. So they are asking, hey, we exist as slavers. We make money for this nation, our states, our individual selves, because we use slave labor to do it. And without that slave labor, not only won't we be able to function as we were, the country won't be able to function as it were. So we must, by some means or another, get back to having exactly what we fought this war to get rid of. And as that was spoken and understood and discussed, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was made. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, 13th Amendment, if you haven't read the book, 13th Amendment by our girl Jacqueline down in Columbus, you behind. Just a brief insight. The 13th Amendment provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United Territories under its control. Now, what that says is, all you have to do is convict somebody of a crime, and they are a slave. And that was what all these Jim Crow laws that were passed throughout this country was meant to do. They were preferentially pointed at Alkebulanese and non-pink people, and they were prosecuted not just to the fullest extent of the law, but they were prosecuted to the fullest need of the plantation owners, landowners, and other people who needed slave labor. They built the roads, they cut down the trees, they plowed the fields, they picked the cotton without being paid a dime. Convicting people of crimes and then using them as slave labor got to be such a thing that the United States became the biggest country on the planet as far as crime and criminals and prison population was concerned. There is nobody else on this planet that has anywhere near the number or percentages of people in prison or in some way connected to the legal system, either on parole or something like that.
And Michelle Alexander refers it to the new Jim Crow. That's the name of her book.
That's the name of her book, The New Jim Crow. Absolutely. Thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
You see why I love this woman? She keeps me right. But these laws and lies were made to continue the laws and lies that had started this country by pink people. They're smart. No, they're not. They're the most ignorant people on the planet. We're stupid and barbaric. No, we're not. We were the first people on the planet, and we created all of the sciences and most of the sociologies that humanity now represents and follows. Duh. But worse for law enforcement is something that I discovered I didn't know anything about. Law enforcement has what's called an oath of honor that says, "On my honor, I will never betray my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always maintain the highest ethical standards and uphold the values of my community and the agency I serve. Shaping the future of the policing profession," and that's something that's done by the IACP.org. I think that this is International Association something police. I don't know what the C stands for. But one of the problems I immediately saw when I read this thing was uphold the values of my community and the agency I serve. Police in this country, in the United States of America, were slave catchers. That's what the first quote-unquote police agencies in this country were set up to do, catch slaves. They were as racist and Alkebulanese hating as you could possibly get. That was the function that they served in their communities. Their communities were pink communities. There wasn't any Alkebulanese policemen. There wasn't any policemen that weren't pink. So yeah, catching slaves and, quote, keeping us in our place was in keeping with both their community and the values of the agency they served. Nothing has been done to amend that, change that, or even address that, except by people who are complaining about the policemen continuing to act like slave catchers and treating Alkebulanese and non-pink people like they're criminals already. As soon as they interact with them. Boy, are you getting uppity with me? Why are you so hostile? All of these are statements by police to people they're supposed to be protecting and serving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk like that to people I'm supposed to be protecting and serving.
Mm-mm.
But I have never heard police talk to anybody generally any other way. They act like slave masters. They act like overseers. They act like they're in charge of not to go. But when I say we, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking more or less about Americans. Because I've always seen police as a opponent of mine since I was a child. They were always the one you had to watch out for, because no matter what you were doing, they were going to bring you trouble. Their job was to put you down. Their job was to, like it has been said on many, many occasions, keep us in our place.
Couldn't
Don't
even
let us-
jaywalk on your own street.
No, you couldn't even walk down the street on your own street. Come on. We've seen enough of that on YouTube, where we have had the police call on us for sitting on our porch.
Mm-hmm.
Police are supposed to be serving a function. They have no idea how that function is to be served because they have never been taught how that function is to be served. They have been taught instead to fear us. They have been taught instead to act like we are already criminals and you've got to watch out for them. It reminds me of my nephew, long time ago, came out with this song that was directed at mainly rappers, because they were supposed to be doing all this funky music and they were supposed to be bringing the funk, but they were talking about sex, drugs, rock and roll, and different things that made disparaging remarks about females, calling them all sorts of bees and stuff. Not understanding that when George Clinton brought out funk, it was on the album Free Your Mind and Your Ass will Follow. And it's supposed to be about higher states of being. That's what the police, in their actions, as opposed to what they're supposed to be doing, remind me of. And I need to ask them, like my nephew asked everybody, how can you funk? Check this song.
Two T's in the house, taking the ballistics high, straight up knowledge. We're snuffing ourselves out, a whole generation being written off. Lay back, I got a message from my homies who say they wanna funk. But the funk, you gotta brush up on these guidelines. First off, you don't need cricket sidelines. No, you don't have to be a scholar, leader, lawyer, soldier, Mac that or teacher. Now, I'm not asking you to be no saint, but you gaming and claiming to be what you ain't. Yeah, I know your story said you started out early growing up. As a boy, you didn't play with toys. Had a gas stuck in your face at an early age. Let it change the way you think, put you in a rage. How can you funk when you're jacking and ripping? Co-hitting the blunt, know you're straight up tripping. Whatever happened to your self-respect? When somebody asks you, you put them in check. How can you funk? But it's genocide labeled homicide. How can you fuck when you quit before you start? Wanna take the easy way, cause you really got no heart. Low down scamming, slipping, shamming, scheming, dreaming, wishing for what? How can you fuck? your system is whack, yet you know all of that, still you're caught in the act. Down in your party and dismissing the thought of ever being think that everybody's wrong. When in the hell are you gonna understand? If you wanna take the man, you got to come up with a plan. Seems already that it looks like a route, cause a man's got a fix, so we take ourselves out. Everybody all seems the same. They all wanna fuck and still they play those games. Run around tripping, messing with this crap. Your days are numbered. How can you fall?
How Can You Funk by Today,
Funk.
along with his wonderful, remarkable uncle, Kwaku L. Carlisle Woods, RNMD Med D1.
Hey.
I mentioned who you are, what you are, actually what you are, who you are, where you are, when you are, so you can learn and understand what your mission is. I want you to know that what you are is a spirit, a mind, and a body. Who you are you come from a long line of ancestors from the very beginning of time. I already mentioned where you are, history, current events. When you are is when to do something about where you are. And then, of course, you'll learn through experience what your mission is.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
I gave you some problems that I see with our legal system, with the laws and the lies we have been told to back up these laws. But I never want to give you a problem without giving you a solution.
Ashe.
So, believe it or not, the city of Cleveland is one of the few places right now in the United States of America that's actually working toward that solution. It started with issue 24, Civilian Review Board, which defines policing. It defines police training, police education, and police discipline for offenses. Our problem, again, is history. Our problem is history that gives us a very narrow view of reality. Unfortunately, pink people have a long history of doing just that. They don't want to look at anything outside of their narrow scope of living and life and understanding. They don't want to look at anything that was before they came out of the caves. They don't want to look at anything that they were not involved in creating. They don't want to look at anything that paints them in the realistic, historic light that they deserved. No. We don't want to care. We don't want to deal with science or history or anthropology or any of that stuff. Why? Because it's true. And we ain't good at dealing with the truth. We're much better at dealing with lies. We're used to lies. We were raised on lies. Okay. This narrow vision stops them from seeing and understanding anybody else's view of reality. This is a problem with pink people, and don't let me get into fetal alcohol syndrome. We will get into that at some point in time, where they have been chemically and biologically prevented from being empathetic or sympathetic to anyone, not just non-pink people, to their own. It's not a good situation. But these problems trivializes the results of arrest. They don't see the problem of making someone a criminal. They don't understand or in sympathy with that at all. They have a lack of understanding, a lack of education. They have almost never been educated, because education would mean that they would have to be told the truth. They would have to learn their own history. they don't want to do that. They are much, 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 much more in tune with just simply being trained. And that's what the system that we have now in elementary school, high school, and college is. It's not an educational system. It's a training system. Another example of this effect occurred in San Francisco, where an Alkebulanese man was detained by transit police, the same organization that shot and killed Oscar Grant. You remember that movie with Michael B. Jordan in it? Mm-hmm. For no apparent reasons, he was killed. Fruitville Station. You go, girl. Mm-hmm. See that? That's why I won't have to go with it. That's all right. We'll talk about that. Fruitville Station. Because in the movie, forget that. This same police, the same transit police in Frisco, arrested another brother for eating a breakfast sandwich on the train platform.
Yes.
Which he states he does every morning on his way to work. Wow. You should have seen the transit cop grab his bag and refuse to let it go and refuse to let him go to work because he actually turned around, handcuffed him, and they arrested this brother for eating a breakfast sandwich.
And a pink female was videoing it and asking the officer,
why in the hell were you doing this? What's the Breakfast Jack? Breakfast Jack crime?
He didn't drop any food on the ground, no paper, nothing,
Nope, he was just eating his breakfast sandwich, and the cop walked up to him and said, "You can't be eating the sandwich here. Throw that sandwich away." "No, I ain't throwing my breakfast down. You out your mind."
And the young man stated that other people do it all the time.
Everybody.
On their way to work.
But they weren't Alkebulanese.
Right.
Again, prejudice. And they're taught this prejudice. 1 week after being arrested, the BART supervisor wrote the Alkebulanese male an apology while stating that the officer was within his rights to arrest him for eating. Felonious McMuffin arrest. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. But they're legal in Frisco, apparently. A Philly cheesesteak, and don't you talk about no macaroni and cheese. Oh, my God. We talking about life now. Yeah. Oh, the death penalty might get waived, but I don't know. I wonder how much time I get for chili and crackers. Do you get charged separately for the chili and the crackers, or is it just one charge? I don't know.
And we're finding a little humor in this, but this is pitiful.
It is pitiful, but this is policing in the United States of America. Anything to make you a criminal so we can use your butt as a slave because we incorporated it into our laws with the 13th Amendment. Now, all this sounds really strange, but again, y'all, this is the world we live in. This. And it's run like this by people who have very, very little ability. They're not being mean. They're not being cruel. They have very little ability to be sympathetic or empathetic. Don't ask them for no sympathy. Don't ask them to be empathetic. Don't ask them to be sorry. Don't ask them for no assistance because they're not into that. Again, we call that lack of humanity being humanal. And Pink Man by the name of Rag and Bone Man made a song all about that. And strangely enough, he called it human. We don't call it that. We call it humano, because what he describes is what pink people do. They are humano. Peep this.
Maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this, see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Take a look in the mirror. What do you see? Do you see it clearer? Are you to see by what you believe? I'm only human after all, and you're only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Some people got the real problem. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve it. Lord heavens above. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Don't ask my opinion. Don't ask me to lie. Then beg for forgiveness for making you cry. For making you cry. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Oh, some people got the real problem. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve it. Lord heavens above. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. I'm only human, make mistakes. I'm only human, it's all it takes to put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Cause I'm no prophet or Messiah. You should go looking somewhere. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. I'm only human, do what I can. I'm a woman, do what I can. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Yeah.
Yes, I'm Only Human On lead singer Shelly Kay, and accompanying her, of course, Kwaku L. Carlisle Woods, and myself, Essie Bassett, KK as well.
Yes. And speaking of which, Carla!
Greetings. And Matt, thank you.
And Matt,
Yes.
you're right. Matt,
For
hot
your
dog.
wonderful children.
They are our best supporters, our closest friends, and
Yes.
actually part of our extended family.
Yes.
Say on policies for police recruitment, exams for new recruits, officer training, and maintaining records and outreach efforts of the police department. Under Issue 24, the Civilian Police Review Board gets expanded duties like issuing complaints of alleged police misconduct and requiring investigation of all complaints. It also now oversees the Office of Professional Standards, which is an independent agency in the Cleveland Department of Public Safety and consists of only civilian employees. I suggest a solution to many of the issues that Issue 24 addresses. It's the same solution that I've always suggested for just about everything. It's what we say at the end of every program, at the end of every letter, and at the end of every call. We say peace. We're not talking about peace on earth or peace and goodwill toward men, though we're intending that. We're talking about PEACE. Proper education always corrects error. If you are properly educated, there are no errors. If you are not educated, and we don't have a system of education, we have a system of training, you will be constantly subject to errors. Education is training in you. It's training in how you function, how you work, how you operate, and the history of humanity in operating and functioning as you do. We give you the anthropology, history, and to some degree, sociology that pink people have constantly avoided because they don't want to be known as themselves. Yeah. Right now, the whole world has populations of young people who don't want to be their parents. Young Frenchmen don't want to be their parents. Young British persons don't want to be their parents. Young Russians, Chinese, Australians, Lithuanians, Polacks, doesn't matter, don't want to be their parents. They want to be us. They want to dance like us, talk like us, walk like us, dress like us, sing like us, screw like us, have our children. Yes, because we're the best things on the planet. Historically, anthropologically, biologically, genetically, duh. Okay. Training versus education. Sir Kenneth Robinson says the TED Talk. Okay. TED Talk, it says start the education revolution. And again, education is
Sir Kenneth John Robertson.
Didn't I say? I said Sir Kenneth Robinson?
I didn't hear that part. I just heard
Okay.
the start the revolution.
Yeah, Sir Kenneth Robinson.
TED Talk.
Right, TED Talk. Okay. I thought I said it.
You
I'm
might
looking
have.
at it. You, Y.O.U, Y period O period U period, not them. Y.O.U stands for your own understanding. Understanding that you need of you, not the understanding that they want to give you about them. That's what the trivalent understanding noetics is about. The history and biology of police, of Europe, of Alkebulan needs to be taught to all police. Reason needs to be explained and at least supported because, again, the Roman Catholic Church centuries ago said that Europeans should not use reason for anything. They should use revelation. A very selfish, very ego-centered understanding of reality, but it's also not very logical, reasonable, or intelligent. We need to have policemen broaden their spiritual vision. We need them to include all of their ancestors, all cultures, and all of life. Moral Unitarian values of all life, humanity is one, needs to be taught in all of our schools, but especially to our policemen. We give them the power of life and death. We ought to make them much more responsible for that life and not that death. Racism is fear-based and ignores reality. It ignores history, science, anthropology, and genetics, reality in general. DNA education is mandatory, and every policeman, in order to be a policeman, ought to get their DNA run so that they can know who they are and who they come from. Again, DNA USA, book published by Oxford University in England showed that 100% of all pink people, or at least people who thought they were pink, who were born in the South, have sub-Saharan Alkebulanese genes. 100%. Every one of them is not pink. Every one of them is actually a hybrid. Okay. We also need investigations to change Supreme Court legal decisions. Every child in St. Louis, where I was born, was taught the Dred Scott decision, because that's where the Dred Scott decision was made, in St. Louis. We were taken down to the Supreme Court building, the court building downtown, where Justice Taney said that Alkebulanese people have no rights whatsoever that pink people are obliged to respect. That was the highest legal authority in the United States of America. That's where the laws and lies come from. And this was stated in my hometown, about 100 years before I was born. But rules like that and decisions like those allowing policemen to lie need to be rescinded, need to be overturned, and need to be changed to make policemen much more humanistic and much less criminal. Okay. Specifically, we need to revise the 1973 U.S. versus Robinson. That's 414 U.S. 218. Traffic stop was valid even though it was a mere pretext for a drug search. And the policeman said it was just a pretext. It wasn't really what I was after. I really didn't care about the traffic stop. I was just using that as an excuse to shake him down and make him a criminal. And the Supreme Court said, that's okay. That's all right. We don't care why you did it as long as you made him a criminal. We're cool with that.
This is where we are, y'all.
Okay. This is full of a whole bunch of fear and hate, which is the emotion right next to fear. You usually have a tendency to hate what makes you fearful. And pink people have been hating on us for thousands of years. Because we're dark, because we have pigment, because we're taller, stronger, faster. We think better. We're older. We're more mature as a species. They need to get rid of the hate. And the only way you get rid of that hate is by joining with us spiritually. We'll give you a sample of that as we give you this last selection. Albert Ratner, the guy who owns Tower City and Forest City Enterprises and stuff, asked us to make this song for the Maltz Museum's essay contest. But it is the antidote, again, to hate. And it is, of course, called Stop the Hate. That's all we're going to do.
216-375-2742 to continue on solutions to who you are, what you are, where you are, and when you are, and why.
Peace.
Yes.
Hate is a flame that consumes my humanity and the humanity of anyone I direct hate at. Hate is a twisted lens that warps all reality.
I will extinguish the fires of hate with the cooling, soothing waters of filial love.
Filial love is brotherly love. It is the love that exists when you realize that you're related to another through a permanent, unbreakable bond, through a stronger, larger, more important group. Family, gang, culture, race. As a of humanity or as an example of life itself. We are all related.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with G the Fiddler. And we gon' stop that. Yeah, 1, 2, look, it's time to man up, stand up, face up, hands up. Misleading all the children with your fears, we understand, bruh. Society made you this way, that's how you shift the blame, huh? Get it? It's probably just the way that you was raised up. But this time is different, time to give that grace up to yourself for the most high and be the one to spread love. An example for the next generation, that's what you also stop all the hate. Cause it's time for us to play our part, what part they ask every time the Fiddler hit the stage. So you know my step, I'm always promoting that stop the hate, stop the hate. No procrastination, no debating, that's how I'm feeling, so listen, pay attention. No, I ain't preaching, education got me on them teachings, got me on them healing, enabling every last one of my siblings. We all from God, it's time to build so we can beat the eyes, start the love, stop the hate so we can rise above.
It can kill your body and soul. It can turn your heart to cold. Everything you go through, yo, you must grow. So you'll be able to stop the hate and make the world a better place for all the future race. Did you know that you can start today? Stop the hate.
Wrong with the world, mama? People live a lie, they ain't got no mamas. Like Black Eyed Peas said, boy, I got a feeling that the world needs a lyrical spiritual healing for the people to love and not hate it or fear it. Now please bless me with the talents to reach the spirit so I can penetrate the mind and all its egotistics and help me listen more and not only just hear it. Cause I know we all equal and we're all inherit all the blessings of life if we only live it. Let's fill up the world with some better places. Might as well get it in for the future races. Wouldn't it feel so good being a generation to inspire peace upon the future nations? Imagine eliminating all the petty hatred and getting back to the basics, yeah, where the faith is. But first, stop the hate.
It can kill your body and soul. It can turn your heart to cold. Everything you go through, yo, you must grow. So you'll be able to stop the hate and make the world a better place for all the future race. Did you know that you can start today?
Let me holler at my third eye world close with precision and painting perfect pictures of new dimensions in your lenses so everybody can see the vision. That goes attention to verbal conversations that's getting heated all across the nation. We got the power to focus on a decision. Spoken through politicians speaking out loud throughout the competition. The world been ready for change, ain't no escape from the stain. Left up the shackles and chains that they forgot to mention. We overcame every obstacle that was laid. Prophesied through the greater documentation of our Dr. King. He had a dream that we all came to the board. Up in 40 years since the start of things. It's time to let your voices ring. Pick up your voice and let freedom ring through the notes. Everybody can vote and take a stand on what we all believe. The time has come to be praised, stand by the king, it is great. Embrace the road that was paved and let your conscience free. Although the man gave his life just like our Lord Jesus Christ, all that be bought with a price they didn't have to pay. The crucifixion with death tied to submission. The world still wouldn't listen, and you wonder why we need to pray.
Oh, you made it to the end of the video. Well, I am tired a little bit differently. I'm dressed as Baba Amwa. If you would like more of your own understanding, like, share, and subscribe.
Yes.
And go to the sites that we have listed around us. The Most High is good.
And the ancestors are kind.
Thanks
for having us on your minds.
Peace.